What's going on, guys? Welcome back to NolanTCG, and we are back here for another month of our deck intro series, and of course this month is Swordsoul. I am of course joined by a guest here today. Here's Josh.
Hello.
Josh has been messing around with Swordsoul for a little bit. If you watch DB Grinder at all, he was on DB Grinder playing Swordsoul. He's the guy that you would see playing around. Is that correct?
Yes, but only the 10-year variant.
Only 10-year variant. We will get to that next, but of course we do have my list that is up first. This is the list that I'm kind of messing around with, still tinkering with a little bit, but it fundamentally just kind of gets across what the deck is all about. We will go through all of the cards, what they do, how they kind of basically function, and then we'll skip across to Josh's list and he'll take you through the 10-year deck and how that functions, just so you have a good idea of how each of the two primary builds will essentially work going forward. Of course, do hit that subscribe button if you are new here, because we are always happy to have new people on the channel. But let's get on into this one. So starting off, we are going to go through all of these one by one. So of course we have Long Huan. Is that how you say this, Josh?
I just say Long Dong, but that's just me.
Okay, we're out of the first 30 seconds. I guess you can say that. So he's the one that you discard from hand to special summon. So you can discard one other Xiangjian or Swordsoul card. All one worm monster, special summon this card from your hand, then summon the token. He's a 6, so do keep that in mind. He will give you access to your 10s. The token is, of course, the card you're going to be synchro-withing. And if you do, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except synchro monsters while that token is on the field. They all do have that same restriction. Then, if this card is sent for the grave as synchro material, burn your opponent for damage and then win in time. That is fundamentally how this card is going to work. It's going to be your cheese card for the deck, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just fun cheese. Do you want to go through the next one? So we've got Tai A.
Tai A.
The worst one, kind of.
It's probably the worst out of all the main decks.
The worst playable one.
Somewhat. Even in the 10-year variant, it's not as playable. Because you still have to get something engraved, which you'd rather have in hand. But you banish one worm or Xiangjian card from the grave, summon a token, which is what Moyi does, but in another way. Gets you access to all your level 8 synchro plays, and can send a worm from deck to grave if you use it as a material, which is usually comes up more in the 10-year variant, but
something to keep in mind with it as well is you can send a Xiangjian or a Swordsoul card. It doesn't have to specifically be a monster. So if you do find you need to do that at a time, that is something you can tap into.
Can usually banish a sudden shift if you have a Xiangjian to get an extra token on board.
Okay. So then after that we do have probably the best one, which is Moye. So he's on normal or special, reveal a Xiangjian or a worm monster in hand, special summon a token. Again, same restriction after that, but he's going to get you into 8 plays, and 8 plays get you pretty much everything you want. And then if it's sent to the grave as a synchro material, draw 1 card. Guess what? You can use it to chain block your generic searcher.
Usually want to chain that as chain link 2, because if you draw what you wanted to search with Xiangjian, you can just change what you want to search, and it's pretty versatile. I like it a lot.
It's just also the fact that it's a water lets you do drag out plays. It gives you the fresh spell trap negates. Just a cute thing that you can do.
Tokens are waters, are they not?
But tokens don't go to graveyard.
No, they're just for Baxia players.
Yes. Okay.
Useful for.
Yes. Then next off, we do have the Ecclesia of the deck. I think lore-wise, I'm not 100% sure what this is. This could be like the original Ecclesia before everything happened.
Get into lore.
Look up YouTube on lore. But you want to take us through this one, Josh?
Sure. Usually it comes up going second. If your opponent controls more monsters than you do, you can special it from the hand. This is an inherit. It does not activate to special. But I usually just go activate because I cannot read most of the times. But it's fine. Also, it can be used going first, especially with the fusion package and how its end phase effect is to add it back if a fusion is sent there that turn. Well, if it's in the grave as well. But its main effect is to tribute itself, summon a Xiangjian from the deck, or a Fallen of Valbaz.
Cute Super Poly plays.
If you're feeling bold. But usually summon a Moyi to reveal what you have in hand. It really sucks it's not a worm, because it would be very good to be able to summon a Tai A and just banish it for the effect to make it a 1-card starter, but it's still good enough.
So on its 2 effects at the end there, you can only use each effect. Good. Rather interestingly, I know in your list you're playing the instant fusion. So this would just recur itself back in that case.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you just...
All the time, but
if you use the instant fusion, it comes back. Easy. Then we get into our spells and trap cards. So we've got, of course, the Dragon Sword appears. I wonder how they're going to change that, because it'll have sword twice in the same sentence if they don't like completely redo that translation. So this is your Rota. So just adds one Swordsoul monster from your deck to your hand, or if you control a Synchro monster, you can add a worm instead. Then if this card is banished, target a Xiangjian or a worm monster you control, increase or reduce its level by 1. I believe both of the spells have that same level modulation effect.
That's usually how you get into your 7 plays, or 9 plays if you do Hanami. I think usually the old target was Xiangjian.
Oh, okay.
That'll be game winning against most Prone Kid decks.
Get the banish going out. Okay. And then after that we've got Xiangmen. Does this...
If you play more than one of this, you're wrong.
Yeah, this is not the best one in the world. It's just your standard Reborn. You want to take us through it?
Your spells and traps and monsters are so searchable, and especially since it's Monster Reborn, you do not need to play more. And it doesn't come up more than once. It's
Xiangjian monster you control in your graveyard, and if you control Synchro, you can target a worm monster in your graveyard instead. I feel like that would only ever come up if you're trying to recur like a worm Synchro you've made.
It would be if you're trying to recur Chenying or Xiangjian, but can technically use for Baxia, but I don't think you use Baxia, because if you're using Baxia, you want to summon something back. And you
bring
can
back a
Xiangjian anyways.
A Xiangjian Pop would be cute.
Xiangjian,
yeah. And
it
then
comes up a lot more in the 10 you build.
Yeah. And then, of course, the same effect where if it's banished, target a worm or a Xiangjian, increases, reduces level by 1.
Yeah.
Then we get into our trap card. We're not playing any of the other trap cards. Typically, you don't see many lists playing them at all. Typically, good lists just play Sudden Shift. So Sudden Shift is just plain and simple, target a worm monster you control and 2 cards your opponent controls, destroy them. Then if this card is banished, you can special summon 1 Xiangjian token, which is pretty good. And then, of course, that does the whole standard Synchro lock.
Probably play 2 of this, because there are some situations where, you summon a Moyi or Taiye, gets impermed, but you do have the extender of Long Yuan in hand. You summon it from the hand, you make Xiangjian, and then Xiangjian will banish the trap from the deck and summon a token, so then you can make Baroness as well.
See, I would normally... Originally I was playing 3 of this, and, like, no strikes at all, and I just had a different spell card in here. It was a different hand trap, but I slowly trimmed down until I could get it to just 1, but I'm probably going to go out to 2 at least.
To just make sure you have access, because it is a very powerful trap to destroy 2 cards. Isn't this... Whoa... Not a Phoenix Wing Blast, was it? It's like a old trap card where it attributes a winged beast.
I think it's Phoenix Wing Blast.
I
think that's what it is. Of course, in my list as well, you do see the Destiny Hero package floats around. It's just a cute like thing that you can play because it's super free. As long as you don't have the token on board, away you go.
It's pretty good, but I'd still prefer the 10 Yavin over it.
Something else to keep in mind, before this stuff does come out in Burst of Destiny, we will get access to Baroness de Fleur, so do make sure to pick those up immediately if you're looking to build that deck. Definitely grab that. Then we get into our extra, of course, so we have the Che Ying first. Do you want to take us through that one, Josh?
Chen Ying, there was a new one release, which is a bit better, but this does have a lot of good opportunities to use it. As also, it's an attack modifier where it gains 100 for each banished, or attack and defense. Also, your opponent's monsters lose 100 for each banished, which is why I really like Desires in this deck, because immediately if you Desires and you make this, there's an instant loss of 1,000 to all your opponent's monsters, which can help with a tower situation.
This does just go straight over Dragoon as well, which is cute. The fact that we will still have to put up with Dragoon in our format, and this just goes over it. It doesn't matter.
And if it would be destroyed, it has a Titan effect where you can just banish a... Is it just a card? Yeah, it's just
banish one card. Yeah, from your graveyard instead.
It's almost exactly like Titan, but just one less.
However, it does then get the extra effect of if a card is banished, you can banish one card from each your opponent controls and in their graveyard. So
you have to have one in their grave and on field.
So it is both. Yes, because each. Mid combo though, good disruption. Good. Yeah.
Especially with Cold By, it works well with Chi Xiao, banishing, negating, then banishing hand and field. Also, Sudden Shift, very good with this.
Yes.
You pop 2, and then it'll just go effect to protect, and then banishing cards, so it'll just banish more cards. It's very good when it's useful.
Yes, very good. Also, you get the cute thing of people complain that, oh, well, they didn't have Dragoon to put up with. This does not target. It's just
No, it does
banish.
not.
Yeah, this doesn't target, so that Dragoon's gone. After it could already have just attacked over it, it doesn't matter. Banish.
It is a very good way to out Dragoon, as it will protect itself and just be bigger than Dragoon most of the time.
And then, of course, last off, we have Xiangjian. So this one is your 8 Synchro. It is your generic searcher. So when it's Synchro summoned, you can add to your hand or banish one Xiangjian card from your deck. Is that once? You can only use one effect per turn. That kind of sucks.
That is something to take into consideration when you play, because I've messed up quite a bit of times by forgetting that.
I feel like going second, that's going to matter a lot more than going first.
Very much so, yeah.
And then, of course...
even if going first against Token Collector, if you forget.
Yeah. And then, of course, next off, we have its secondary effect that we were referring to. This is your Disruption effect. So, quick effect, you can banish one Xiangjian card or one Worm monster from your hand or graveyard, then target one other effect monster on the field, negate its effects. Just a cute negation. So, really going second is the only time you will worry about this being use one effect.
And its effect plays well with Xiangjian, as I said before.
Cool. And
it's
now we'll...
usually a play you do before we had Baroness announced to have before the main set.
When I first started building this, we were supposed to be getting Baroness after. So I had completely built this without it, and then, hey, we get it now, which is cute. We will skip over to your list, though. Okay, so now we are back with Josh's list. Do you want to take us through how your list functions?
Okie dokie. This is the 10-year variant of the deck. Utilizes the 10-year cards, obviously. They are very busted, and problem before with this deck, it did not have a good worm deck to utilize it, which is where Xiangjian came in. As they have a special from deck, a disruption, which Vishuddha was used in a lot of decks before the actual Xiangjian came out. I think Orcus used it as well.
I believe so.
Free disruption. And then Adhara can be used to a lot of things you can do, especially with a Taya. You don't really want to banish any 10 years. You want to banish either Mo Yi, Long Yuan, or even another Taya engrave. Because what Adhara can do is banish itself to add back for the follow-ups. And of course, by banishing these also all trigger Xiangjian, if you want to do it like that. But a nice combo you can do is if you open, I think it's any 10-year with Ashina, besides itself obviously. That is an instant Synchro 8 that plays around Token Collector. Because you summon Ashina, make Monk, summon the other one, and then Ashina will banish. You summon either the level 7 or the level 1 from deck, which will get you into Qi Xiao. And that's usually the play you want to be making if you're going second, because Token Collector is a big problem for this deck.
Yeah, that is something definitely to keep in mind going forward, is decks that can make Token Collector and decks that can't make Token Collector will definitely see different success rates against this.
And Token Collector is going to be more useful because we have a Cupid pitch coming out, so we might see a lot more combo decks that use Auradon.
Also, you can, in a lot of combo synchro decks, you will see them go into a 7 for the Shooting Riser and just foolish the Token Collector. Because Token Collector summons back from grave.
I don't think I don't run Riser anymore. I think I was, but because I didn't have an active target for it going first, I just didn't want it there. Because I think Yazi is just so much better, and the extra deck is very tight.
Yeah, the extra deck in this variant gets very tight. In this, the not 10-year variant, not as tight, but here, yeah, definitely.
Because you're forced to play minimum of 2 Monk. I think 3 Monk is probably better, since you can go through 2 easily in 1 turn. And Shaman comes up a lot of times, especially when you're trying to play through a lot of negates. Because you can end up having a Monk and a Tai. I think you can have an Moyi or Ecclesia upgrade. Not Ecclesia, sorry. Because Shaman will discard to summon it back, and then you can keep extending from there if you summon the Moyi. I mean, even if you have a Moyi on board and summon back Tai. It's just a very good extender to have, since it also special summons all the synchros as well.
One last thing before we go. This deck surprisingly has a large amount of space that you can kind of get away with. You've got 13 cards of space in your main deck.
If
you count Instant Fusion space.
Was I could only run 9 Disruption cards, which is what I usually call hand traps or stuff like droplets. But because I got rid of Vessel, which is a card a lot of people were playing, I was able to find more room. And I don't really think Vessel is that good. Mainly, the problem is with Vessel, if you open Vessel by itself with any of the Xiangjian monsters, it only combos with Taiye. And if you have to Vessel to send a Tenyi, and then banish it with Taiye, you're just not getting any advantage off that, and I don't want that for the deck.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much for coming on to the intro too, Josh. I knew you were really keen on getting a hold of this deck and messing around with it, and you'd been doing it quite a lot. So,
So much.
thank you for coming on.
Cards ordered and ready to go.
Good. Imagine ordering Tenyis because they're so expensive.
I finally bought cards online.
Finally bought cards online that weren't salad cards. But
I won't be getting warnings for bought cards at YCSs anymore. That'd be so great.
As always, though, I have been Ben from NolanTCG, joined here by Josh. We'll have a salad profile coming soon before we get our lockdown soon, so then we'll be able to do this in person.
Give you my top 6 dueling book salad profile.
Yes, sure. But have a good one, guys.
Before we go, latest skaters.